We're rolling. Excellent. All right. Welcome to episode 123 of Convos on the Pedicab. I'm here with the CEO of Crowd Health, Andy Schoonover. Before we get started, we got to give a big, quick shout out to our sponsors. 512 Boutique Events services all catering and staffing needs to any event in Austin and the surrounding areas. Anything from weddings to corporate events to festivals. They're even equipped to provide bar services. So visit their website today at www.512boutiqueevents.com for contact information. Calendar fills up quickly, so be sure to get your event booked today. Have you been leaving your house outside again? Texas weather can wreak havoc on your home, especially your roof. And if you haven't had it inspected lately, chances are the outside elements could be making their way inside. Trust Balcones Roofing and Remodeling to perform a thorough roof inspection and offer long-lasting solutions. They are the only 5-star rated roofer in Austin who specialize in installing the impact-resistant F-Wave Revia and back all roof replacements with a $20,000 guarantee. To schedule a roof inspection, call 512-937-8805 or visit balconesroofsaustin.com. Andy, so happy to see you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah. We're talking about healthcare. Well, at least we're going to start on a pedicab. In front of a group of people who would probably benefit the most from what you're doing.
I love it. Let's do it.
So,
not only a pedicab, like we have flowers, and we have all kinds of good stuff. I mean, I love this pedicab.
It's like my favorite cab. It's not even the cab that I own, but it's my favorite cab. My friend Emily, she rides this cab, and she actually helped me like try to set my garden up when she first started, and she kills it. She does so well. I mean, but look at this.
I mean, this is the pedicab that I would ride in for sure.
Perhaps,
I love it.
Yeah. If nobody came and talked to you, yes, this would be the pedicab that you would want to ride in.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. Okay, so we got to talk about Crowd Health and why it's better than the traditional healthcare system in front of a whole squad of people who would benefit the most from this.
I love it. Good. Let's do it.
Go.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
man. Look, so a few years ago, I was like most people, which I was having health insurance, right?
Yeah.
And my little one went to the hospital, got a bill, $8,000 for a 15-minute procedure, and the insurance company said, I'm not paying for it. And so I was pretty pissed off, as you could probably imagine. I had to write an $8,000 check to the local hospital.
What was the procedure for?
Tubes in her ears.
Tubes, okay. And why did they not cover it?
They just said it was medically unnecessary. Even though she had literally a hole in her eardrum, they said it was medically unnecessary, so they weren't going to pay for it.
Wow, okay. And what were you paying per month for insurance?
$1,200.
You're paying $1,200 a month for insurance for a service that they didn't even want to perform.
Exactly. And so, after doing some research, what I found out is that almost 20% of the claims are rejected by health insurance plans. So this is their game, right? They say, yeah, we'll pay for anything, and when you submit the claim, they say no to 20%. They hope that you'll, just ignore it and move on because that's money in their pocket. If you fight it, then that's what you actually need to do is fight it. I didn't know it at the time. I know it now, but it's just this game that health insurance plans pay.
Which is crazy because people have to work so hard to put food on their table, especially if you have children, you have so many bills, and people have all these student loans and all types of debt that they got themselves into because they were brainwashed into doing it.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the energy to fight this stuff, and they know it, and that's why they do this stuff.
Exactly. I mean, it's so complex that they're like, nobody's going to fight this, and so we're just going to say no and see what happens. I mean, it is a absolute, from my perspective, scam that we're doing this. So, it's paying $1,200 a month, so that's, what, almost $15,000 a year. And so I got to this place like, I'd have to have something pretty big happen for it to be more than $15,000. So why am I paying into this when the probability of them actually paying when I do have something is low? And so it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me that I would keep paying my hard-earned money for something that is not going to work.
Okay, and then so what happened after that?
So I was like, all right, I basically called my insurance plan and said I quit.
Okay.
And I've been now uninsured for 3 years. I pay cash for all of my healthcare services.
All right.
My family is saving about $10,000 a year because I'm not having health insurance. And so it's actually cheaper for me to not have health insurance than to have health insurance. And so, $10,000 times 3, I've saved $30,000 over the last 3 years by not being insured.
Well, that is awesome. So from that time, how long did it take to say I want to start my own alternative?
Yeah, about a year. It took me about a year.
So you were
to
just
figure it
uninsured
out.
with no plan for a year.
Yeah.
And then what made the light bulb come off?
It was like, as I did about a year of research to figure out, like, is there a viable way to pay for your healthcare bills if you're uninsured? And everybody asks, what about the big one? Right? So you have to figure out, what do you do about the big one? And so what do other people who are uninsured do about big ones? They go to GoFundMe. Right, they put it up on GoFundMe, and they hope it's gotten.
Yeah,
gonna get
or they
paid.
give fake addresses and fake names, and
Or
it's never
or some
paid, or
scam.
declare bankruptcy, or just
Yeah,
they'll
exactly.
they'll scam the companies back, and then as a result, now the companies have to charge even more money to protect themselves from all of that. So
Well,
it's just a
there's
mess.
several 100,000. We estimate about 200,000 families last year that went bankrupt because of a healthcare event, even though they had health insurance. So this means they had health insurance, a health event happened, and they still had to declare bankruptcy, even though they had to have health insurance. I mean, it's crazy town.
Yeah,
So,
and apparently too. Actually, I learned this from Bernie Sanders on Rogan like years ago. The government, they can take your house if you're like delinquent on a healthcare bill. Like your house could get like foreclosed upon or some shit like that.
it's crazy.
Which is nuts.
It's crazy. There are some states, I think Texas, Florida, has a state law that says you can't take my house, but you can take everything else. But I think in something like 45 states, that is absolutely the case. It's nuts.
I mean, and you see why so many people have just completely soured on the American dream and don't really care about American values anymore because, that.
Yeah, no,
That.
exactly. I mean, so you're buying into something that they tell you they're going to be able to do something. The government has said we're regulating it so that the consumers don't get screwed. Yes, we still have hundreds of thousands of people that have to go bankrupt because of a health event. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. No, and then if this happens to enough people, and enough people are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and they feel like they can't own any property, and they're being decimated by how our monetary system works. The next time a crisis happens, the next time a virus hits, they're not going to care about preserving the values of this country because they feel abandoned by it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right on.
It's really dangerous, and the only thing that you can do about this is you have to help as many people opt out of this while they can.
Yeah, and so that's our motto: opt out of health insurance. Everybody thinks that is the only option that you have, and we're saying no, that's not. There's other options as well, and the option that we provide with Crowd Health is significantly less expensive. We think a higher probability of your health care bills getting paid, even with the big ones, and it's based upon how we've done this for hundreds of years, which is community. Right. So, 100 years ago or 200 years ago, if somebody in your community got sick, what happens? Like the community would gather around them and say, hey, we want to help you. Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to an insurance plan, which they've stuck themselves in between us and our
and the
members.
community, and then it becomes that much harder for a private doctor to have a business and charge a fair price because now you're competing with large mega corporations that are subsidized by our government.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing at Crowd Health is just imagine a community of people, in our case, thousands of people, who, if somebody has a health event, they can say, hey, I have a health event. Would somebody help me? Let's just say that, you broke your arm and it's $5,000.
Yeah.
What we would say is, hey, you got to put a little skin in the game too. So you pay the first $500. We'll go to 45 other people, ask them for $100 each to provide you with the remaining $4,500 so that you can pay for your broken arm, so that you're not out on the street.
It's pretty cool.
Which is
That's
pretty cool.
It's a pretty cool process.
And
I
that
think
person can say yes or no. It's not by fiat. It's by voluntary.
by volunteer, and also because I actually just joined in December.
Oh, rock on.
So yeah, I'm a Crowd Health member as well.
Awesome.
I actually scheduled my first dentist appointment.
All right, good.
I think it's like $200 or something. So we're going to talk maybe about like what do I say to them at the desk, and how does that?
Yeah.
Because the first visit gets covered, right?
Well, so you get one wellness visit
Yeah.
covered per year.
Which is the dentist.
Not covered. We crowdfund that.
Okay, so yeah,
fully
the
for you.
dentist. Yeah, okay,
so you can
cool.
do a dentist, you can do optometrist, you can do your primary care doc, OBGYN.
I haven't been to a dentist in
pediatrician.
like a year and a half, so I'm like, I should go to the dentist.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be, you'll submit it to the crowd for crowdfunding. It'll be, $200 or whatever. And so we'll go to
What do I pay for that? Do I pay anything?
nothing.
I don't have to pay any like deductible or any of that stuff?
No.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's what's up. All right.
Yeah. So let's when is it scheduled?
I think on Monday I'm going to Fredericksburg on Monday.
Okay. Well, there you go. You'll be able to see real time how this works.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'll document it.
Document it.
But all right, so like let's say I'm gonna see a dentist and I'm coming in. Let's role play.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's
This is pretty cool actually.
You
All
go
right.
in, they're going to say, "Hey, it's $200," and you're like, "I'm cash pay." And they're like, great, give me a credit card. So you hand them your credit card. You get a receipt for $200. You'll go on our app. You'll upload it to our app. We'll verify that you actually went to the dentist on our end. And then within 3 days, we'll have that crowdfunded, and you'll get your money back typically within a week.
And will it be in my crowdfunding health account, or will it just be on my credit card, or how would that?
It'll come right back to you via either a check or ACH or however way you want it. Or we're actually in a couple months we'll be able to get back to you in Venmo and all kinds of different ways.
Okay, and it can't be back in Bitcoin, right?
It cannot yet be back in Bitcoin.
Because that'd be cool. I'd be like, hey, look, as my checkup sources.
Just go straight back to the Bitcoin?
Yeah, just give it to me in Bitcoin.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea, yeah, I know.
I'll ask internally if we can figure out a way to do it.
That sounds like a really smart, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a $200 visit, it's not breaking the bank for me, right? I'm
Yeah.
lucky that it won't. It'd be cool to just get it right back to my credit card. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, well, I guess, buying $200 worth of Bitcoin isn't the worst thing in the world at these prices, considering where we are right now anyway.
Yeah. All right, I'm taking it back to the team and see if we can make it happen.
I just just food for thought.
I love it.
It's a good,
I love
look
it.
at that.
Yeah. We're building business models on the Pedicab.
On the tricycle, exactly. Yes.
It's your next podcast. It's business models on the Pedicab.
That's hilarious. What's funny is like when I give rides to like people who work in finance and you're talking economics with finance people, that is my favorite thing in the world.
And do they buy into Bitcoin or do they not?
Some.
Okay.
Some kind of understand it. A lot of them will ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
A lot of them ask questions that it's good. They're like, well, Bitcoin's lost 80% of its value, and you hear all that stuff. Like, what happened with, look at that guy Sam Bankman-Fried. It clearly shows that it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, no, that's actually not really true.
Yeah.
Here's why. One block gets mined every 10 minutes, no matter what happens, no matter how crazy the world goes, no matter what virus pops up, no matter whether or not we get a war in Ukraine, no matter whether or not you have a food shortage, no matter whether or not you have a housing default, no matter whether or not you raise or lower interest rates, like one block gets produced every 10 minutes, and there's like 6.5 Bitcoin gets mined per block or something like that, no matter what. And then like every 200,000 blocks that get mined, you get the number of Bitcoin per block gets cut in half. Like this is literally the most stable, safe thing that you could actually invest in if you think over a long-term period, because the math will never change.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is nobody else is holding your money.
No one else.
You're holding your money.
Yeah, and then when they talk about like all this, the SBF and all this stuff, I'll say, well, yeah, they put this on an exchange, and when you put something on an exchange, what you have is not really yours. So if you just had self-custody of your finances, that shouldn't bother you in any capacity whatsoever. By the way, do you know anything about central bank digital currencies? How do you feel about only being able to buy meat on Tuesdays? Provided that your social credit score is at a certain level.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh. Yeah, I guess I see your point.
Well, and it's becoming more and more apparent to people that the government is not on our side, and so hopefully it's becoming more apparent to people, especially over the last few years.
I don't know, man. Those guys, they have pronouns in their bio. Like, what are you talking about? They got pronouns in their Twitter bios. Of course they're on our side.
Yeah, sure.
That Ukrainian flag means that they love us, all right?
Yeah. As we send hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, the Azov Battalion, these are the good Nazis. They believe in science. Come on.
You said we were going to talk about a lot of stuff other than healthcare.
And here we are talking about stuff other than healthcare.
Let's talk about the economics of pedicabs. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we should. No, but you know what, though? All this ties in. All of this ties in because when you have when you don't have sound money and when you have money that's based on fiat, the people that are closest to the money printer are the ones who benefit from everything, and we all get the scraps. And these people will be able to do anything that they want to continue benefiting and continue getting richer because that's human nature. There's a lot of greed involved.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, you have a lot of unnecessary things start getting produced.
Yeah.
And a lot of unnecessary causes get promoted so that these people can continue to make more money and consolidate more power, like the war in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Like tranny story time, like everything that you're seeing right now.
Yeah. No, amen.
So that's
amen. I mean, look, you mentioned the SBF, FTX stuff, right? I mean, I think that there's a lot of analogies here with healthcare. And, in essence, what you're doing is you're sending your money to an insurance plan that's holding your money and then promising to be able to pay you out later when something happens. What we're saying is, like, you should be holding your own money. And so when you start a Crowd Health account, you're actually putting money into an account that's yours. So if you were to leave right now, there's money in that account where you could leave and you take that money with you. So it's still your money. And starting in 2 or 3 weeks, we have a full accounting of all that money on your app so that you can see it. It's yours. It's not ours. We never touch your money, so I can't run off with your money. I never touch it. So
How do you guys make a profit though?
So
Because that's like a pretty. I asked my mom about this.
Sure.
And my mom was like, "Well, how do they make money?"
Yeah. So
it's
economics it's about $175 a month.
Okay.
So you put $175 a month into an account. We take 40 of it for a subscription fee.
all right.
And then the remaining 135 stays in that account to use to help crowdfund other people.
Yeah.
And then let's just say I use this month, we're probably going to only use like $35 of that. So you have $100 left in that account. It's yours. We might ask for it later, but that's your money in your account. And so, if you were to leave today, we would distribute that money back out to you.
Yeah.
So we never touch it. It's in your account.
Okay, and then how much of that do you get to put into Bitcoin after, like a certain
75%.
So you you pay the $40 subscription fee, right?
Yeah.
So you're left with $135.
Yeah.
Right. And then 75% of that $135 goes into Swan.
Yeah, 35. So what we do is we take out the money for the crowdfunding. So let's just use $35 this month, and then you're left with $100. So then, does that make sense so far? So it's $175.
Yeah.
Take out 40.
So you're left with $135. Yeah.
$135. Let's say I crowdfund 35 this month. So that goes to your
okay.
broken arm or
All right,
whatever.
all right. And
you
so
have
then
100
after,
left,
okay.
then $75 goes to Swan.
And that's
to get
automatically,
stuff
or is that if you opt into that?
it's automatically if you're in the Bitcoin community.
Am I in the Bitcoin? I think I am. Well,
what if you used a Bitcoin promo code of some kind?
I
You're
used-
automatically.
I think I use my own. I don't know. I have one that says Pedicab.
Yeah. Then
So
if all the pedicabbers going to Bitcoin, I'll check it for you.
Yeah, check. I don't know. I mean, I literally just started in December, so I think I'm still doing the 100 a month
yeah,
anyway
okay.
for like 6 months or 3
Yep,
months. So
yeah.
I don't think you could even do the Bitcoin until you're at 175, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
There
it's
you
still
go.
a while.
Yeah, you
away.
still have a couple of months.
Yeah.
we're gonna change things up a little bit because we want people to be able to get to their get more Bitcoin in now, especially if it's at what is it at today, 23,000, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
yeah.
What's your cost base? What are your like cost bases for running this thing?
Yeah, so most of it is advocacy. So the great thing about what we have is, with a health insurance company, if you call into the health insurance company, you're probably talking to somebody in a big call center in India to try to help you with
Which is
your-
also
with your
ridiculous. Which is
healthcare.
also absolutely ridiculous. Like, you shouldn't. I don't think you should have people from foreign countries. I think you should have American workers answering the phone when you're calling an American company and you're an American citizen.
Yeah, well,
That's what I think. You know what I mean? Not to
it's
be like
all
racist
cosplay.
or xenophobic or anything. It's just like, you're calling for a service that you paid for, and you want to get that service dealt with as quickly as possible. And it's really difficult when the person on the phone doesn't speak your language very well.
Well, but my issue is like I'm talking to one person in a call center who then transfers me to another person, and I'm telling them about my healthcare needs, and then they transfer me to a different person, and it's like I'm telling half a dozen people about my healthcare needs, and it's like nobody can figure out what the hell's going on, right? So for Crowd Health internally, you have a dedicated care advocate.
Yeah,
So
I do.
when you talk to that person, you're going to talk to them every single time. Unless you have a big health event, then we have a complex team that helps with more of the complex cases. But for the most part, you're going to talk to what you just started in December. Probably
yeah.
Kelly, might be Jasmine.
Jasmine, I talked to Jasmine.
Yeah, Jasmine, who's awesome. She's a rock star. You're going to talk to Jasmine the vast majority of the time. So she knows you. She gets to understand your healthcare needs. And so that's our number one cost on our end. And then we just have technology stuff on the back end too. But those are our two big cost bases.
So it's hiring random people to work to manage your accounts? Or not random people, hiring professionals to manage.
Yeah,
okay.
really awesome.
But then the more people
customer service people.
okay, and then the
basically.
more people that join, the more you can hire more people to manage. Okay.
Exactly.
So that's how. So that's an expense. I guess you don't really need to spend too much money for what you're doing because the payments of these bills is determined by the users.
Yeah, we don't pay any bills. Like, there's no money that comes out of that $40 that's going to
So
pay
what about in the
bills.
beginning of this, when this thing first started? How are you paying people's bills when this first started?
Yeah, I mean, thank God we had hundreds of people to sign up in that first month, and so we had a lot of people sign up. I mean, we spent that's where our other money goes is towards marketing. So we spend $100,000 a month or something like that on marketing. So we're trying to get new people to know about us.
So you spend about $100K a month.
Yeah.
And you're and you're spending how much a month approximately on hiring professionals?
So right now we're losing money. So
okay. No, I mean that's fine.
Yeah, and so it's $100,000 of marketing. It's another $125,000, $150,000 of people.
Okay.
And then we've got kind of the technology fees, which is probably another $100,000 to $200,000 a month, depending upon.
So you're spending about what, like $500K a month?
$400,000 to $500,000.
$400,000 to $500,000. Okay, and what are you guys pulling in per month?
Just short of that.
So like
So we went out and raised some money to get this thing started. So we've raised $12 million so far to get this.
Okay,
this
so
thing off
yeah,
the
I
ground.
saw that. Are you guys getting any more funding from any more angel investors or?
I don't think so at this point. I mean, we're good. We have enough money to last us several years, and so it doesn't make sense to raise more money now, especially in this environment, which is just hard to raise money nowadays. So
it's going to be hard, but I mean, ultimately they turn the printer back on and.
Interest rates go back to zero, and
eventually, yeah, or they go negative if they try to do some stuff with CBDC.
Yeah.
Who knows? They could always go negative too. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is a lot of that stuff.
So we think we're going to be profitable in probably 12 months, given the current growth rate. So we're adding 400 or 500 people a month.
Oh wow!
And so
wow, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's actually well. And then so I see that you've got some pretty cool people advertising for you.
Yeah,
you got Safety, and you got Natalie Brunell, you got
Marty
Bent,
and Breedlove.
Yeah, those are pretty influential people. Has
awesome.
Their support helped grow this network?
Yes, for sure. And they're all members. And this is not like a freebie membership. Like they all heard it and they're like, "Oh, I want to be a member." So
they're paying in.
Yeah, they're paying in.
So how are they I'm just curiosity, how are they getting compensated then?
Just on a monthly basis. Like I paid them a monthly fee to do that.
That's cool. Okay. And it doesn't cover, and so they're still having to pay. Is it greater than the cost of what they pay?
Yeah, it is, but I'm not giving them any special discounts that nobody else is getting.
No, I understand that. Sorry, I'm asking a bunch of questions on the spot. I mean, this is a really revolutionary thing. And
yeah.
You want to ask a lot of questions so people can understand.
I think one of the problems with healthcare generally, it's so anti-transparent.
Yeah.
And so it's like, ask me anything. I'll be transparent. And every month we say, hey, here's how many bills we paid. Here's how many each person paid. So we're pretty transparent on Twitter with what our monthly financials look like. So people should know that. People should know the company that they are involved in, the community they're involved in, and how they're doing. So this month will probably be like each person will pay on average of about $35 per month in event health or crowdfunding requests.
Okay. So. And then also the Bitcoin thing is another smart investment because just based on how Bitcoin has been performing, once the next halving cycle hits, the Bitcoin balance in people's accounts is probably going the money, the fiat worth could triple at worst and 10x at best.
Yeah. I see something silly that people think is silly, but if Bitcoin does what we think it is, I don't think we're ever going to have pay for healthcare again for the people in crowd health. I think that there is an upside that is so big on the Bitcoin side that
that the amount of money that's going to be in people's accounts is going to be so large that everything will just always be crowdfunded.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
That's
I think that's a reasonable assumption. If it does what we all think it's going to do, right? So I was a Bitcoiner before this. I kind of tell a story back in, I think it was 2014 or something like that. I was like, I'm going to put 10 grand into Bitcoin just to see how it goes.
Oh yeah.
And my buddy, he was like, this is the dumbest thing that you're ever going to do. And so I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. And I think it went from like, I don't know exactly what
Did you put the 10 grand in?
So it went from like 200 to 1,000 in that period of time where I was trying to figure it out. And I was like, oh man, I missed it. Missed it. And here we are at 23,000. So I didn't do it. The worst investment of my life.
You'd be
or the worst non-investment of my life.
Should have done it. Well, 10K would have been a lot of money though.
10K.
And putting 10K into Bitcoin right off the bat is actually a really stupid way to buy Bitcoin anyway.
Why is that?
Because of how volatile it is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people do things off of debt.
Really
They do things off of leverage.
Kind of
yeah,
question.
they do things off of like debt. They do things off of leverage. They do things because they want to get rich quickly.
Yeah.
And then if things go down, they lose faith in this thing, and then they go back to the fiat system, and then they become even harder to break. And then they're going to be even more likely to need a universal wage or universal health care or all of these fake perks and conveniences that are going to be associated with the central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
So I don't even think telling people to YOLO 10K into Bitcoin or telling people to make large investments into Bitcoin is not even, that's really bad advice.
It's all a percentage of
dollar,
your
you got
assets.
a DCA, baby. DCA every day.
Right. But so look, if you make
$10 a day.
if you make 50 grand a year or 60 grand a year or whatever, I would say do not put 10 grand a month, 10 grand into Bitcoin. Start with several $100s into Bitcoin and see how it goes. Now, if you are worth $10 million, then you would say,
go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah, put 10 G's and go make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. The way I look at buying Bitcoin is it's like sponsoring an African.
Okay, so how's that?
You know what I mean? The children, the Save the Children commercials with like the starving kids in Africa. Like for just $1 a day, you can feed this African child. For just $5 a day, or for $200 a month, or for whatever small amount of money.
One pedicab ride.
Yeah, for like one pedicab ride, your purchasing power and your personal sovereignty could go a long way towards being protected and maintaining, if not increasing, their value.
There you go.
For just one pedicab ride, you're that much less likely to have to eat bugs and live in a pod.
There you go. I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's spread it around the pedicab community.
For just one pedicab ride, you could own some Bitcoin, and then when the next current thing hits, you are a lot less likely to live in Klaus Schwab or Bill Gates' version of the future.
Klaus had to come up, didn't he? I love
Bring
it.
up Klaus.
I love it.
It's bro science and Bill Gates conspiracy theories all day. That's what we talk about now.
And Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Yeah. Hey, all of his friends want you to wear a mask and get vaccinated. So
Have you put your Jeffrey Epstein rap on the podcast yet?
And it's not the podcast is normally just for different types of discussions, right?
I'm just saying.
Well, I feel like it's more for my customers who take the pedicabs with me, or for performance. Like I performed with Sam Tripoli and Eddie Bravo.
Did you really?
Yeah, with Tinfoil Hat Comedy. I've been on stage with them with my rap songs.
That's awesome.
Before I started, that's how I met Alex Stein.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know who Alex Stein is?
Yeah.
So I met Alex Stein at Tinfoil Hat Comedy Night in September or August of 2021.
Yeah.
And he was on he was on the conspiracy panel. I was doing my raps, and then we met each other, made friends. He gave me his card. All of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I know that guy. Like we follow each other on social media. This is hilarious. Like this guy likes my stuff that I put. Like this, yeah. And so I reached out to him, and then he started telling me to start going to meetings and stuff. He's like, dude, you would blow up. You'd go so viral if you did. And he's right. Like I've been getting
awesome.
so much attention.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you've seen any of my videos.
I haven't seen any of them yet. I gotta go back.
I dressed up as a clown a couple weeks ago and tried to be the CEO of Austin Energy, and I got like 1 million views. Like it made it onto the New York Post.
No way.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. After.
Okay.
Yeah,
I gotta see that.
So I've been going to council meetings, doing all this. I've been culture jamming like a mofo. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to do this.
Love it.
Be fiat clown. To be the definition of fiat
the fiat clown.
Be the fiat clown. Yeah, which you literally were the clown. Yeah.
I love it.
I got fan art made about me.
I gotta see this stuff.
Yeah. So.
Man.
Okay. We were talking about pedicabs.
Yeah.
We were talking about pedicabs.
Less about healthcare, more about pedicabs. I think the people want to hear about pedicabs.
Everybody wants to hear about pedicabs. People always ask, how does this work? What do you do? They ask so many questions about this job.
Yeah, I love it.
I had my first real Bitcoin person was Carr from Pleb Lab.
Yep.
And I was telling him, I'm like, dude, this job is Bitcoin. It represents what Bitcoin is about. You know what I mean? Pretty much everybody who's done this has opted out of the traditional fiat system in some way, shape, or form. Even if they're not owning Bitcoin, they already are they've already taken a big step by opting out. Like this job is opting out.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What if you weren't a pedicabber, or maybe before you were a pedicabber? Like, what were you? Like, were you ever in
I was living at home with
system?
I was living at home with my mom and dad in New York City, probably never going to amount to anything. And then I moved to Austin I mean, I was a personal trainer, but I wasn't very good at it because I didn't really love fitness that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I had I did jiu-jitsu for a while, and I had a golden gloves fight in 2012, and so I was really good shape, and I was really on top of my nutrition, but it was because I was training for something. And then once you weren't training for something, I didn't really want to work out and lift weights or do this stuff unless there was a purpose for why I was doing it.
And so mom and dad living in New York City look at you as a pedicabber in Austin. What is the feedback on that? Are they like,
well, so
hell yeah?
Okay. So at first, when I told my mom and dad that I wanted to move to Austin, they were like, what are you going to do there? This seems like a really half-assed, harebrained idea. It wasn't really encouraged.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, fair. I understand. And so I decided to apply for jobs at after-school programs and just apply for a job that I know I could probably get that doesn't really pay too much, that gives you a semblance of structure so that you can not be broke or not be homeless. And I said to myself, if I get whatever job I get, I'm just staying here. Okay, and I got lucky. I got a job at an after-school program, and then I found an apartment, and I just never came back to New York. Right?
Yeah.
This is 2013, and then I found there was a meeting to be a pedicabber I saw on Craigslist, and I'm like, well, look, I'm gonna keep I'm gonna throw so many darts at the board until I get it right, because I don't want to ever go back and be 35 years old or be 27. I was 27 at the time, right? I don't want to be a grown. This episode is brought to you by Balcones Roofing and Remodeling. Have you been leaving your house outside again? Texas weather can wreak havoc on your home, especially your roof. And if you haven't had it inspected lately, chances are that outside elements could be making their way inside. Trust Balcones Roofing and Remodeling to perform a thorough roof inspection and offer long-lasting solutions. They are the only 5-star rated roofer in Austin who specialize in installing the impact-resistant F-Wave Revia and back all roof replacements with a $20,000 guarantee. To schedule a roof inspection, call 512-937-8805 or visit balconesroofsaustin.com. This episode is brought to you by 512 Boutique Events. 512 Boutique Events services all catering and staffing needs to any event in Austin and the surrounding areas. Anything from weddings to corporate events to festivals. They are even equipped to provide bar services. Visit their website today at www.512boutiqueevents.com for contact information. Calendar fills up quickly, so be sure to get your event booked today. Living at home with mom and dad. I don't want to do that anymore. This is stupid, and there was no incentive to even want to live on your own in New York because you're paying $2,000 a month, right, for 3 roommates in a closet in a rat-infested shithole, across the street from a housing project where you got to worry about getting stabbed on your way home from work. There was no motivation to want to improve to do that, right? And I think that when there's no motivation to want to improve, it's toxic, which is another reason why communism and socialism is such a toxic way to go through life, because it literally takes away the incentive to want to improve yourself.
Yeah, totally.
And then when you don't grow, you rot.
Yeah.
Which is why, communist countries are literally rotting themselves to the core because of the model. It's despite the fact that the U.S. and other powerful entities are stopping them from growing. Even if that intervention wasn't there, just the whole philosophy behind this is just a philosophy of decay and rot.
Yeah.
Just because it's anti-growth, and when you're anti-growth, you literally rot. That's my rant on that, right?
No, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, and that's what's totally screwed up is with healthcare. Not to get back to our main topic here, but if you have health insurance, there's absolutely no incentive for you to take care of yourself because somebody else is paying your medical bills. You're not paying your medical bills; somebody else is, right? And there is no incentive to reduce the amount you spend on healthcare because, again, somebody else is paying for it. Yeah. So if somebody else is paying for it and you don't actually feel it in your wallet, then there is all the incentives in the world for bad behavior, right?
1,000%. And it's I was listening to your thing with safety and on my way here, and I shouldn't have to. Why am I subsidizing the obese? Why am I subsidizing some obese couch potato alcoholic who smokes 5 packs of cigarettes a day when I'm eating really healthy, I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep, I'm not going out and drinking, I'm in a faithful monogamous relationship, when I'm doing what I can to be healthy? Why am I subsidizing somebody who's just completely voluntarily destroying their own body?
Yeah, but you know what? If you say that, publicly, culture absolutely destroys you because they say, well, what about all these people who just get the the raw end of the deal and have something big happen and 90% of diseases can be eliminated as a result of actually taking care of yourself nutritionally and with physical fitness.
Well, yeah.
The vast majority of type 2 diabetes, which one out of every $4 in the healthcare system currently is used to pay for people with diabetes. Type 2 diabetes can be oftentimes, the vast majority of the times, I think it's above 90%, erased with nutritional impact. Type 2 diabetes.
Well, 1,000%. Also heart problems. Like, could you imagine, like, people get scammed into jobs that they hate and existences that they dread because of benefits. Yeah. Which is totally wild because you wouldn't even need these benefits if you just were happy and ate better.
Yeah.
I mean, for just to put this as simple as possible, you might not even need a lot of these benefits, barring a tragedy. Like a freak accident, and that's why you have something like crowd health anyway, right? But like,
and the probability of that is wicked small.
Very small, very small.
It's like something like 1 in 200 for guys.
You have a better chance of being like struck by lightning or attacked by a terrorist than for something like that to happen. Although with our job, it makes sense because there was a guy who got one of his cervical spines was broken. He didn't get paralyzed. He's fine. He recovered. Miracle, right? But he got
hit
by a car while he was pedicabbing.
Jeez.
Like, and this is crowd health is like such a useful thing for people in our job and profession because we literally put ourselves at risk all the time because of the nature of our job.
Yeah. I guess you don't have to have pedicab insurance or something?
We have insurance. Hell yeah, we have insurance. Dude, we definitely have
equivalent to car insurance? Or
no, we have insurance to own the cab. I got to pay insurance. Pay like $1,400 a year.
Okay.
For insurance.
If you get hit, does it help with medical bills on that or not?
I think it would. Yeah, I think it should.
Because car insurance, if you get hit in a car, then the car insurance will actually pay up to the first several $100,000.
I think that it should, but a lot of times if you don't own the cab, like if you're leasing a cab from somebody, they're not going to cover your medical bills.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If it's a cab you own, I would assume that that's the case. Either way, we're still using crowd health anyway.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we need a pedicab crowd.
And
so all the pedicabbers out there, let's get a community
we should talk. There's literally a whole bunch of us doing this, so you should talk to them about. Ask them if they have healthcare and talk to them and hang out. There's probably beers and stuff if you want to have if you want to hang out for a little bit.
Man, love it.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole system is it's totally like I'm sorry, I'm like super ADD, right?
You're fine. Real quick, on the Bitcoin side, just to keep going there, one of the issues that we found originally is you're paying all this money into health insurance every month, and they're putting it in this big pool of dollars,
right? Which
is going down every single month, right?
Yeah.
It's what are we at, like 6 or 7% inflation? So that's at least what they're telling us it is. It's probably significantly higher than that.
Well, they keep doctoring it, or they keep putting different things in the inflation numbers to make it look like it's like leveled out and stuff. But
and the way they do it is totally asinine. But regardless, imagine putting your money into this big pool of capital in dollars, and so that pool of capital is going down in value.
Even 2% inflation is bad.
It's bad.
That's bad. Like 2% inflation every year means that your savings will still rot and degenerate.
So what if you put that instead into Bitcoin? Right. Instead of having this big pool of insurance capital, you put it in Bitcoin, and it's owned by you as opposed to the insurance company. And that's ultimately where we came up with the Bitcoin idea, is saying, like, look, we have Bitcoiners who don't want to put their money into this big pool of dollars. Let's let them keep it in Bitcoin. And so you can keep your money, the vast majority of it, in Bitcoin, as opposed to having it in some United Healthcare bank account losing value every single month.
Well, so what do the CEOs of these healthcare companies do to protect themselves against that?
Nothing.
They're not hiring like hedge funds. They're not like hiring hedge funds to invest your money and doing stuff like that.
No,
playing dangerous game, like making super risky investments to try to keep that money solvent.
Here's the really crappy part is any money that they make off of that pool of capital, they do not give it back to the customers. They keep it. Like, so they're making money off the money that you're putting into their bank account. So let's just say they have a 2% interest, bank account, and they have, billions of dollars sitting in there. The health insurance plan takes that money as interest income. So that is income to them. It is not to offset the kind of the cost of holding capital in that account. Whereas if Bitcoin, you're holding it.
Well, you're holding your own funds.
Your own funds, and so you get all the upside of that. So all the money that you're going to put into Swan if it goes from 23,000 to 250,000, you get 100% of that upside. Crowd Health gets none of that. It's totally your account. We have no access to it. It's 100% yours.
And then, if you actually care about this community, you keep the money in the. You might, maybe you sell it and put it in dollars if you think that the price might go down. But that's more dollars that you get to actually spend to help other people with health emergencies.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing for I guess limiting the power and scope of these healthcare conglomerations.
And we're trying to do everything we can to limit the power and scope of what we do internally. Like, I'm trying to decentralize as much of this as possible so that there is no central thing to, company that can dictate what happens, right? And ultimately, it's voluntary by our members to give. What we primarily do is make sure that the healthcare bill is actually a healthcare bill. And we'll help you negotiate it too.
Would you negotiate? Do you negotiate the wellness visits, or is it just kind of like
it's so small?
So you don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
And anytime you go for a wellness visit, the best advice is just saying, "Hey, I'm paying in cash."
Well, I told them I said that on the phone. I'm paying in cash. What's the estimate? And she said like $200.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah. And so if you're paying in with health insurance, it's typically 40% more than that. So that's the benefit of paying cash. And why is that, right? Because doctors want to get paid.
It honestly
moment.
makes sense, right? Because even when I was using the marketplace just for the dentist, it costs like $13 a month for the dentist, right? Which is pretty cheap. Let's say 15, right? That's like $150 a year almost. It's not that much. Like it's $50 difference to just go to the dentist once. All you're gonna do normally is go to the dentist once anyway, and
you're paying basically for a dental visit.
Yeah. Which winds up being what it turns into.
Yeah, and if you have anything really bad with your teeth happen, there is typically a limit on those dental insurance plans where they will only pay up to like $1,000 or $1,500 or something like that. And so it is garbage.
My girlfriend's stepdad, not to turn this sad, but he like just died of cancer a couple weeks ago.
Wow, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and he was like about to be 70, or he was in his late 60s. And he was like an example of someone that's like, he worked a fiat job, had his savings, had his stocks, just did everything. He did what they told him to do, right? Yeah. He got married, he had kids, which is good. He had like 5 kids, good for him. That's just awesome, which is what you should be doing.
Sure.
He got married, he had his kid, he fathered children, he was a loving stepdad. But it's like you also got divorced, lost a bunch of your money in the divorce, and you had he was a real estate agent, right? And I don't think he did that forever. But I mean, you had a job, you had your benefits, you did what everybody told you to do, and then like, in the meantime, you ate your processed foods, you drank your sodas, you had your beers, you had your barbecue with the fake GMO meat. You didn't, your generation grew up not understanding how your food was being poisoned. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like
food triangle generation.
Yeah, they were the food pyramid. Yes.
Food pyramid.
Which is literally designed to make you sick to boost the profits of the healthcare industry and the medical industry, which is it's like the evilest thing in the world when you think about it. I guess that's another top. I mean, it's kind of ties in, right? But like anyway, the point is like
we have lots of commentary on healthcare.
You work really hard. You spend your entire life busting your ass to retire, and then right when you get to retirement age, you get cancer, and then spend 2 years just like miserable going through chemotherapy, which also depleted a whole bunch of money. And now it's like, all right, well now you died and you had to sell your house, and now your wife is just kind of like, well, we're almost back at zero. I mean, not quite. Like they have some money, but it's like what you're gonna get is not worth what you put in.
Yeah.
And it's like the perfect example of why this whole model is just nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, couldn't agree with you more.
I got a question though.
Yeah, go for it.
If you're like 70 years old, right, and you found out that you had cancer, and it was like there was like almost no chance of recovery, would you get the chemo, or would you just live out your life?
If there's no chance of recovery,
or like if there was like a less than 10%, if there's like a less than 20% chance of recovery.
A less than 20. Well, that's the question, right? Like, is it 10 or is it 20 or is
let's
it?
Say 20. Let's say
there's
let's
a point there
let's say
like,
I'll take the risk. Let's say 20. Less than 20% chance of recovery.
I would probably do it if it was at 20. If they told me it was like a 1 in 10 shot, I'd probably just be like, let me live out my life.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, and it's the other thing too is like, how old are you? If you're 70, that's different than maybe like even 75 or 80, because like 75 or 80, like
Well, it's about time to go anyway.
It's about time to go anywhere. Like, why are you gonna, live the rest of your life?
And then I'm gonna spend a bunch of,
pain.
and then I'm potentially spending a bunch of money that could be given to my children. It's like, it comes a point where it's like, all right, now you got to choose between selflessness and selfishness. Like that's also.
It's like that movie, The Bucket List. You have you seen that movie?
Nah, what's that movie about?
Like Morgan Freeman and who's the other guy? They're roommates in the hospital, and one of the guys was like, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore. I've got a bucket list that I'm not going to be able to accomplish, meaning like a list of things I want to do before I die that I will not be able to accomplish because I'm going to be on chemotherapy for the rest of my life. And Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman are the two.
Wow,
guys
yeah.
It's a great movie. You should go see it. There's a plug for Bucket List.
I'll watch it. I'll make my girlfriend watch it.
It's good. It's really good. Yeah.
But it's weird. When did you start being awake to like how fucked up the fiat system was?
I think I was always, not always. Here's one moment in time where I was like, this is really crazy. So, I went to business school out at Stanford.
Oh wow, okay.
And
right.
I was sitting in my economics class, and I had this thought go through my brain. I was like, this stuff just doesn't make sense to me. Like, and I thought I was an idiot. Like, it was just like, this just doesn't make sense. It was Keynesian. It was just kind of Keynesian economics that they were teaching, right? And so,
the more money that you have in supply, the more the economy gets boosted. But then you're like, well, who prints the money? And how do you know who gets it first? And what if the people who get it first don't want to share? Like, yeah.
I was asking these questions. and the economics professor was like, you're an idiot. And I basically got the equivalent of like a D in that class. It's not, we didn't do the ABCDF thing, but it was equivalent of a D. And that's where I was like, man, this just doesn't make any sense to me. And then that was way before Bitcoin. So that was in 2004.
Oh wow, okay.
So this is
you were
20 years
you went
ago.
to college when you were in college when I started high school? Yeah. Oh, no, I started college in 2004. All right.
Okay. I graduated from undergrad in 2001. I went into business school in 2004.
Okay.
And then graduated from business school in 2006. And so it was before Bitcoin, but I was asking the questions for sure. Bitcoin came around, was asking a lot more questions. And so it's like, the thing that I love about Bitcoiners is like, once you start at least understanding, even in an elementary way, what Bitcoin does to the monetary system, it requires you to ask lots and lots of questions about how all these other systems are working in our country, how the healthcare system is working in our country, how big food impacts our country, all these other things. And so I love hanging out with Bitcoiners because they're asking really good questions where, mainstream media looks at you and say you're a nut job for even, asking these questions. But we were
until the next bull market comes every 4 years, then you're a visionary, then you're a hero, then, then they give you all these, then you're a maverick entrepreneur, then they label all these other things at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What goes around comes around, I guess. And so it's well, you said it earlier in this thing. It was, it went from, 70 or 69,000 or whatever it was at the high to what did it get down to? 15, 17 or something like that. So it dropped 70 or 80%. It was like, yeah, but it was zero,
10
years ago. And in reality, if you look at the value creation, more than 10 years ago now to today, it's the value. It's created more value than almost any other company, with very, very few exceptions. I'm looking at what we have. We're at 23,000 times 21 million, so we're at 450 billion or something like that of value. J.P. Morgan, our friends over at J.P. Morgan, was founded hundreds of years ago, literally, and they've only created a couple $100 billion of value. So what Bitcoin has done in the last 10-ish plus or minus years is more than what J.P. Morgan has, created in value over the last couple hundred years. That's the impact that Bitcoin has had on the monetary system, that it's created more value than the other, elephant, in the financial system, the monetary system. I think that's pretty damn interesting.
That's pretty fascinating. That's super fascinating.
There aren't many companies out there that are worth $400 billion or more. Well, there's a handful.
There's like Apple
and Microsoft.
Well, Bitcoin still has $1 trillion market cap, or they did in the bull.
In the bull market, they had $1 trillion market cap. So what was it at?
That was $2 trillion. That was $2 trillion. They got to two. I think
so. 70,000 times 20 million is 1.4 trillion.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
And that's assuming that all 21 million are out there and it's fully
and that's the
diluted
thing.
and
I think
things
like
that.
once you start understanding this, you realize that you don't even care about what the price is because of what the value represents. Right? Like you just don't care what the price is because like if things keep going in the way in which they're going, the only thing that's going to protect you from a central bank digital currency is you having your own digital currency.
Yeah.
That's yours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only thing protecting you. And it doesn't matter what the price is. It really doesn't matter because if you're not allowed to buy certain goods because you're having to use programmed money, then, you know, whatever you own is going to be priceless if you can buy the goods that you actually want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like...
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. You know, and so it's a little bit scary about what's going on with the CBDCs right now, and everybody wants them. Do
people want them, or people just don't? I think a lot of people are
well,
ignorant.
the politicians want them.
The
politicians want them.
Politicians want them. I think that there's also like issues though with the private banks. Like a lot of private banks don't want this because it means that they're not going to exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
Because
know how
then
that works.
Well, you're banking with the Treasury.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a CBDC, you're banking with the Fed. Like you're banking with the Treasury Department.
Which means the Treasury knows every dollar that you're spending and how you're spending it.
Yeah, it's very bad. It's actually like literally, it's like the last stage. It's literally the last stage of fiat. So if you get, that's how you get like the full blown clown world. This is irreversible. This is tyranny that lasts for centuries, right? If you get the CBDC, you get centuries worth of tyranny.
The data that they would have.
It would be
is
insane. It's already bad right now with Facebook and Twitter, but you could still say, I don't want to use this right now. You
Right.
could still like ultimately, or you could like use like a Nostr or something like that. I don't even know how that thing is, but there's people are coming up with new technologies to try to like offset and limit that.
Yeah.
Right. Or you could say, well, I don't want to use Twitter. I could use Float, or I could use Minds, or I could use I could go post on Rumble. I could post on BitChute. Like there's still options that you can.
Sure.
There's still alternatives.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to use Venmo. I don't want to use Venmo. I could use Strike. I don't want to use PayPal. I would rather have Cash App or whatever it is. You know, like
You don't want to use United Healthcare. You want to use Crowd
Crowd
Health.
Yeah, like there's still options where you can do that, right?
And we're trying to figure out like how do we debank healthcare? Meaning like how do I, allow you to help me without having to go through the banking system, right? So I don't know. This is like a bit off the cuff over the last few weeks. We've really been thinking about this. Is like instead of you signing up for a bank account and you putting your money into a bank account, you're still banked at that point.
Yeah.
And then all the money transfers in between bank accounts. Why can't the money transfer directly in between Lightning wallets or any kind of Bitcoin
I mean, that's interesting,
wallet?
right?
Yeah.
But with the Lightning wallet, so like, doesn't it? You have to generate a new one every day.
I don't know. Do you?
I think so. Yeah, with like the light.
I'm not.
I'm
totally
not
up to
a big
speed.
tech person, but like you have to generate a new wallet like every day or something. Like you can't use. I tried to put a Lightning wallet QR code on my Pedicab and it wouldn't work
Okay.
after like a day.
Oh, well, that's no good.
Yeah, like you have to generate a new QR code.
There's a way to do this. I'll reach out to Marty or Odell or somebody and be like, hey, how do I do this?
You have
so
time.
that
You don't have to do this right away. But
No.
that's like a 3-year project, right, to figure out.
we're trying to do it sooner than that. So we want to, and
Because you also
is there
gotta,
a
like-
way like
Well,
that,
hold on, Andy. If you do that too quickly, though, it might turn off the regular normies from Crowd Health.
Well-
Because then it'll be only it'll be like, oh, it's only hardcore Bitcoiners use this, right? Like you want to make it so that as many normies are involved in this and they get more orange pilled.
well, what
throughout
if
this
you do it both ways? One, there's a banked version and an unbanked version.
Oh, that's great.
right.
That should
and
be
then, Then
fantastic.
let the Crowd Health people who are all helping each other out with their expenses anyway. Do it in Bitcoin? So transfer if you have a $5,000 bill, whatever that is in Bitcoin. We'll transfer that or
But how do you
transfer it in
So
between?
but that means you have to be okay. But that also means that the way it is right now, like the money just gets taken out of my. I have to actually say no for the money for me to keep my money.
Yes.
Right.
This would make you say yes.
This means I have to say yes. This also means that I have to like take time out of my schedule or take time from what I want to do to like
Once a
transfer
month for 5 minutes.
Yeah. I think a lot of people. I think you're going to see a lot of people forget. I mean, I'm just.
I
doing
love it.
the-
Yeah.
Like you might start seeing a lot of people like forgetting to do that.
Yeah.
And then you might see less and less bills getting paid because of people's forgetfulness.
So
that-
what if I
that's-
remind you?
I mean, it doesn't matter to people. I get reminders and notifications all the time. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
got shit to do, and then you forget.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. I think that.
What if this? If I'm supposed to send you money and I don't send you money and I'm late and I keep forgetting, you have the ability to rank me in terms of like I'm a giver, right? Like I'm a crappy giver because I always forget.
Right, and then people all of a sudden get their generosity scores lower, and then people are going to be less likely to want to help you.
Well,
as a result of that, like I think that's a risk that you would.
Sure.
I think that's just a risk to look at, right?
If people are watching this and have ideas on how we can do this, why don't you comment on this?
Comment on this.
podcast
Comment on this.
and tag at Join Crowd Health or at Schoonover Andy and let me know, because we're going to put together a business model here where we can debank healthcare by using Bitcoin. That's what I'd love to do.
I like the idea that, listen, I might actually post this. This might be the Instagram clip.
There you go.
To highlight it. This is interesting.
And if I can anonymize it too, that would even be better. So nobody owns your healthcare information except you. Like
that is cool.
That would be my next step.
But then you
after
can't use
that.
Swan. That means you have to use like a different wallet.
I have to use a different wallet.
What wallet would you use?
I don't know. Comment below.
Well,
Somebody who's
like,
way more technical
would you
than
use
the
like?
two
Would
of
you?
us.
Yeah, like
we're like first graders here trying to solve like a
please
physics
comment
math.
and explain this to me as though I were someone who wears a mask alone in my car.
Especially nowadays, jeez.
Bro.
Okay.
I still
well,
see people put these things on. Like I was at Sonode eating, and their food is really good, and it's like, I
love
saw this
Sonode.
great place, right? But I saw
Yeah.
this one of the cashiers coming outside like the kitchen area, and he got a freaking mask on, just like by himself walking around. And I'm
I wonder
like,
if they require that.
no, they don't require that. They don't.
Well, wasn't there just a big study that just came out like last week or 2 weeks ago that said this whole mask thing was just an absolute ridiculousness?
Well, yeah, but it's not about science. It's about control and compliance.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And the same people that are yelling about fighting climate change don't really care that billions of dollars worth of masks are in the ocean. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry
It's the
about that.
environment.
Don't worry about it.
Live in the 15-minute city. That's the solution. Go ahead.
Well, I think we've
covered a lot of
we've
stuff.
covered a lot. We've come up with $1 billion business idea.
We
I
have.
think.
This is fantastic. Hire me on the marketing team. I'd like a starting salary of $470,000 a year. That'd
Well,
be really.
you've got YouTube videos or whatever you use that have millions of views. And
No,
so
I don't.
feel like
I don't have millions of views at all. Actually,
Oh, I thought you said the clown one.
the
got
clown
you.
one did. The clown one got like 1 million views, probably total from all platforms.
Okay.
And what happened was CBS Austin put that video up and didn't even tag me. Like it was CBS Austin's video of me, and then I like posted it, and so it's like.
I love it.
So my version's probably got like 200-something thousand views, or my
Still,
follow-up
man.
clown one. Clown World just shared some of my videos, which is pretty nice of them.
There you go. I mean, we need to hire you to do some of our, content stuff and be crazy on the healthcare side. We need to show up to, I don't know, a hospital like a clown. I don't know. Like, how do we do some of this stuff?
Dude, let me know. I'm happy to like come up with ideas. Like I could be the
Fiat clown.
Fiat clown wants healthcare. Yeah,
wants healthcare.
No, and then, like I'm smoking like 10 packs of cigarettes a day. I'm drinking heavily. I'm like, just did a fucking line of blow. You know what I mean? Like, I deserve the same amount of healthcare that. No, oh my god, it would be really funny. If I just start like. If I start doing this, right, and you put me next to like some gym bro, like I put on like a suit or something so I don't look like I'm in shape, right? You know what I mean? I'm wearing
You
like,
and a
3
gym bro.
masks. I put like 2 masks on and put like a hole in my mask so I could smoke my cigarettes. You know what I mean? And I'm drinking my beer and I'm like, hey, I deserve the same healthcare that you do, and you just get next to some person that's super. What do you
think
and
about
it's your
this?
job. You better subsidize my yeah.
You need to be interviewing somebody on like South Congress or something like that as that character and find all the super healthy people that walk by and see what their response is. They're probably super woke because they're in Austin. That's just how Austin is, right?
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, no way in hell am I subsidizing your healthcare. I should not be subsidizing your healthcare.
Can you would you like to subsidize my healthcare?
Yeah.
Well, do you know that you already do when you buy health insurance?
Yeah, exactly.
Fun fact.
There's something there.
Fun fact. That actually could.
Watch out, Mr. Beast. We have the new health YouTube channel or whatever.
So I sign fake. I collect fake petitions sometimes. I went to San Marcos and got a bunch of kids to sign a petition to abolish the Constitution.
I love it.
And I also have another one where we're going to talk about how we need to tax the rich, but to build more prisons and send more money to Ukraine, and help finance the social media companies so they can spy on us a little bit better and make sure that we're compliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
How do we do something like that healthcare related to get some virality around that? There's something there. You and I are going to brainstorm on this.
This is fun. I'm really excited.
Okay,
This will be. You obviously have to come back.
Okay.
Okay. Before we go,
we have some follow-ups to do.
We have follow-ups. All right, we have follow-ups. This is all right. Okay. What are your problems with like the universal healthcare model that they have in European countries?
Yeah, so the issue here is majorly twofold. One is I don't want the government to own my healthcare information. I don't want to have to get the government to approve what I can or cannot do with my.
You get to go to the
body.
doctor for free whenever you want, and all it costs is 50% of whatever you make. What's the problem?
Okay, well there you go. And by the way, if you actually have a real healthcare need to go to a specialist, you're going to wait 6 or 8 or 10 months. As a result of having that
That's
universal
equity,
healthcare
Andy.
system. Well,
That's equity. That's inclusion.
Great. Go for it. Go move to the UK. Like if that's what you want to go to move to UK. No, ultimately it's like it doesn't make sense to me that the government has the right of telling us what we can and cannot do with our healthcare. I mean, that to me is a ridiculous thing. So even now, I mean, this is a funny thing, right? Like you can't go to the local labs, to get your blood drawn. And to figure out what's going on with your body without a doctor giving you a note to say that you can actually do that. Like that is law.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Right? Like I can't go to the local imaging center to get I can't have an image of my heart done to see if my heart is okay without a doctor writing a note that says this person needs to go and get an imaging center of their heart. I mean, there's some exceptions, but the vast majority of the country is like that, which makes absolutely no sense to me, that I can't know what's going on with my own body unless somebody else tells me it's okay that I can know what's going on with my own body. So that's the craziness of our system currently.
Yeah. And also, the same people that wanted universal health care also were at the same time saying that if you didn't want to get your COVID vaccine and your booster, you shouldn't get health care at all.
Why does everybody come to the United States to get health care? Because we actually have the best doctors in the world in the United States. There's actually, you're from New York. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
There's the hospitals in New York, a lot of the ones that all of us kind of know, they have basically hotel rooms set up at the top of the hospitals so that
Yeah.
So that they can fly over from Saudi to get their health care in the United States. So everybody wants to come to the United States for the best health care. Why?
Yeah.
Because the doctors in the United States get paid really, really well. So all the doctors come here. And so why do they get paid really well? Because they're the best. And so people will look and say, "Oh, well, all the doctors are making too much money."
Here's a question too. Like they're also making so much money because the insurance companies continue subsidizing them. That's a big money pyramid.
Well, that's true, but only 8% of our healthcare dollars are going to doctors. 8%.
Okay, so then if people opt out of that and started using the crowd health model, would the doctors make more or less money?
More money.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. They spent about 30% of that billing health insurance companies. So 30% of their overhead costs at doctors and hospitals are used to bill health insurance. And then in addition to that, 30% of the doctor's time is spent trying to get paid by the health insurance companies. So that's on the phone, like pre-authorizations and fighting with the insurance companies about what does need to be given to a patient, what doesn't. So let's just say you had 30% of your day back to go and do, the pedicab. You make 30% more, right? As opposed to, let's say this. Instead of you getting paid in cash every day, for people who ride on your pedicab, they actually handed you a slip of paper and said, you get to get paid by this person. Then you would have to call that person to get paid and fight with them over how many miles did you drive this person? How long were they on, right? Like that would be a huge pain in the ass to you as opposed to just getting cash. That would cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what if somebody said instead of that, they would just pay you in cash? You'd be like, give me cash, even if it's 30% less than what is said on this paper in my previous scenario, because you wouldn't have to fight that person to get paid. And you can do more of what you love doing, which is driving a pedicab. Same thing with the doctors. The doctors want to take care of patients. So instead of spending 30% of their time on getting paid by the insurance company, they can spend that 30% of the time actually taking care of more patients. So they can actually make more money under a non-insurance model than on an insurance model. Like that's
so do
how
doctors
screwed
get
up
paid
it is.
based on the patients that they take care of, or do they get paid like an annual rate as determined by the
Patients
hospital?
well, most of the time, patients they take care of.
So if you're like a private doctor in a small town, you could be broke.
You could be broke.
I did not know that. I thought that like the doctors just got paid like a couple $100,000 a year just from the hospital.
Well, if you are owned by the hospital, then you get paid directly by the hospital. But the same issues apply there. The reason why doctors are owned by hospitals is because they can't make enough money independently, so the hospitals take them over. So, I mean, we're going to go down a rabbit hole here real quick, but just quickly.
This is actually really interesting.
This is quickly, right? Imagine if you're a big hospital system. So, in Austin, we have two big ones.
All right.
Ascension, St. David's, right? And so, if United Healthcare comes in and says, I'm going to cut your rate, Ascension or St. David's, Ascension St. David's is like, screw you. I'm not taking a lower rate. Like, you can't lose me in Austin because then everybody's not going to sign up for your insurance, right? So, those two have tons of power. Now think about the individual doctor, right, who works down the street from here. He's not affiliated with any hospital. United Healthcare comes in and says, hey, instead of $100 a visit, I'm going to pay you $90 a visit, right? That independent doctor has no power against United Healthcare. And so they have to either take whatever rate United Healthcare gives them, or what they do is, given that Ascension Seton's getting paid twice as much for that same service, they sell their practice to Ascension Seton, and they now see their revenue double because Ascension Seton usually basically uses the contract that they have with United to bill.
Does this cause doctors to lose agency over how they take care of their patients?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The number of independent docs over the last 10 years is down by like 60%.
So that means like just to go down the cultural rabbit hole a little bit. Let's say like a 7-year-old kid goes into the hospital and says like, hey, my name isn't Carl, it's Carla. I want like a mastectomy,
Yeah.
I want to start going on hormone blockers. And the doctor says, yo, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't want to do that. Is the doctor then like forced by the hospital to say, yeah, this is what we're doing because it's our policy and you work for us?
Yeah. I mean, you work for them. If you don't want to do what they say, then you probably have to find a new job.
Wow.
It's like they are your employer, so you have to do what they tell you to do.
So then you basically don't even have the agency to offer your medical opinion. Your medical opinion is the same opinion that corporate health insurance companies and big pharma companies and, central bankers on Wall Street are going to have that are going to give them the most money. And that's what the doctor's opinions are going to have to align with so that they can keep their job.
Yes. And so it's not just the health insurance plans that are the problem here. The hospital systems are the plans here, are the problems here too, right? So this goes both ways.
Wow. Andy, we're going to have you back on just to talk about that alone because that is
there's a lot there.
That's a rabbit hole in and of itself. Like, and I listened to your thing with safety and you didn't go down the rabbit hole as much with him. I got to listen to your Marty Bent one.
We have a good one with Marty. Yeah,
I'm gonna listen to that one.
Yeah.
But that just the rabbit hole of doctors and private and private insurance companies and like what overly corporatizing your healthcare means, like it's insane. And I think like all this woke garbage, there is a silver lining to it because people have been totally sleepwalking through this for decades, and just because of how crazy it's become, it's causing a lot of us to become aware of how inherently corrupt the healthcare industry is, to the point where they want to take direct action.
Yeah. Amen.
And obviously, communism is not the right approach, but there needs to be direct action to fix this.
Yes. Direct action in healthcare is opt out of the health insurance system, do something different, whether it's crowd health or being completely uninsured. Like, opt out of that system because every dollar you're putting into it is supporting it. And so, we're on a mission to change that. So would love to come back and talk about it more.
I'm super excited. Andy, how do we get a hold of you?
Join Crowd Health on Twitter is probably our most active. Schoonover, Andy, SCHOONOVER, Andy is my Twitter handle. So follow us there. And then we're all on all the social medias. We're on, Nostr and all of those. So
Instagram too?
Instagram as well.
Is Join Crowd Health?
Yep. Same thing. Join Crowd Health.
All right, Andy, thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. Man,
all right.
Really fun.
Hey, let's orange pill these pedicabbers.
Let's do it.
Let's get them to opt out of the fiat healthcare system.